Okay, this is MAP4C day 33. The goal of the 3-minute review is to get right into today's stuff, interpreting stats presented in the media, and there's a poll below here, and this says, what do the different colors represent? And obviously, those must be those different color bars. It seems like those are the different answers that people could have given to this question. So I'm going to say that. Those are the different answers possible. Different answers. Let's start that all over again, why don't we? That was a bit of a mess. People could choose some sort of survey or phone poll, something like that. Why are there three sets of shaded bars? Well, the three sets of shaded bars represent the different states. The three different states, Colorado, Virginia, and Wisconsin. And the entire poll is in this website down here. Um, and this was right before the last presidential election, not too long ago. Uh, and Part C, what does the margin of error? Now, this is a new thing probably for us in math, but we've heard of margin of error before. The margin of error uh, plus or minus 3 percentage points. So what does that mean? Well, let's take that 35. See, what they did is they phoned people, I think, and asked them this question, and they answered. And 35% of them answered very confident. But does that mean 35% of everybody would answer very confident in Colorado? The answer is no. If I took a bunch more people and surveyed them, maybe it would be a little bit higher, maybe it would be a little bit lower, maybe it would be exactly 35. But they're saying that if you go within this plus 3% and that minus 3%, so I'm talking between 32 and 38, the percentage of people in Colorado who would answer very confident is in this range somewhere. Maybe it's not 35, but it's probably between 32 and 38. That's what this margin of error is, because we can't know for sure. Some people on the survey might lie. We would get a strange sample, but overall, the math says that somewhere between 32 and 38% should have answered very confident. Okay, that's what margin of error is, and this is going to come up a couple of more times during the lesson today. Okay, that's the 3-minute review. Let's get on with the lesson. Actually, this is the lesson, really, isn't it? Statistical literacy. That's what we're all about today. Um, 2 sections. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so we can see this better. Consider the graphic to the left. Who or what is the source of the graphic in your opinion? So where was this? Well, it's hard to tell, isn't it? It doesn't say that it was from a newspaper or it was, you know, where it was. Probably you would guess from the layout. It's somewhere on the internet, probably. Somewhere on the internet. Because of the number of respondents, and that says 183, and so I don't know if you can read that on your note, but it might be because just the words used aren't very professional or aren't very formal. It might be somebody's blog, a blog, or some tennis fan's website. I wouldn't say this is necessarily um, from like Sports Illustrated or something like that, you'd think they'd get a lot more respondents to their poll. Would you consider the source reliable? Well, probably not, right? No, this is if it's just a guy and his website, it's probably not a very reliable source to know what's the fastest way to improve your tennis game. And these are just people's opinions, whoever decided to click, right? If we wanted to find a reliable source on this issue, we might, look for a tennis magazine maybe, or maybe, a big club, a club website or something like that, or maybe a tennis pro of some sort who teaches people how to play tennis. That's where we would look for a reliable source for this information. Probably somebody's blog isn't very reliable. Would you consider the graphic to be misleading? Is this graphic misleading? Well, I wouldn't say so, because it looks like the longest bars are the right amount of length. Is this bar about 10 times as long as that bar? That doesn't look so bad. So maybe not. I wouldn't say it's exaggerated, and we'll talk quite a bit about graphs that are exaggerated later. But one thing that's weird is there's no scale, right? It's hard to tell. It's hard to read that would be 26%. So it would be nice to have like a scale up here or something like that. But I wouldn't say that it's necessarily misleading. We'll spend quite some time on this. This is my favorite misleading graph, though, and you'll see it a couple of times, this unit. My absolute favorite one is this one. Have a look at this one. It's a beautiful graph. This was actually in Sports Illustrated, which you would think is a reliable source, but this is a terrible graph. Have a look. So it looks USA has got the most medals, but how much more than Russia? Well, 1,000 medals. So that one there represents that difference. That looks like 1,000 medals. But over here, how much has Germany beaten, France beaten Germany by? Well, it's only like 25. So this medal's worth 1,000, but this medal's worth 35 or 25. It doesn't make sense. It's really, really misleading, right? And we'll actually talk quite some bit about misleading graphs in a little bit. Read the article. So what you should do right now, and I mean this, pause the video, read the article. If you haven't read the article yet, you should do that. Pause. No, I'm waiting for you. Pause the video, read the article. Okay. Well, I'm hoping you actually did that. And the first thing is to write down as many stats as you can from the article. And this is all in words, but there's a lot of numbers there. There's a lot of information. I'm not going to write them all down. I don't expect you to. But just the first few, I read 3/4 of Canadians have a mobile device. So 3/4 have a mobile device. And this is a little bit old too, so it's from 2011, so it might be higher than that now. 4/10, 4 out of 10 use passwords on their mobile devices. 1/3 use public Wi-Fi. And it just continues. It continues. And these are all little pieces of information that they present in one way or another in an article. And you have to be able to sort of scan and read and understand this sort of thing. So would you consider the source to be reliable? Now, do I actually have the video? Yeah. Well, look. It says blog, which is bad, but look at here. Vancouver Sun, and it quotes Canada's Privacy Commissioner. That sounds pretty important. That sounds pretty reliable, doesn't it? Vancouver Sun. That's good. Canada's Privacy Commissioner. commish, that's probably pretty reliable. I'd say yes. Would you consider the graphics to be misleading? Where are the graphics? Let's have a look at the graphics here. Where are the graphics? Oh, there are the graphics. There's some graphics. So are these misleading? How serious government takes responsibility to protect personal information. And then there's green is people that said they take it seriously. Orange is that somewhat seriously. And 11 is not seriously at all. And there's a scale along the bottom, so Mr. Restall, the math teacher's happy about that, and we can compare how it's changing from year to year. More people think the government is taking it seriously, it looks like. So are the graphs misleading? I would say probably not. They're probably pretty good. One thing I want to point out, there's two important points I want to put out, that it doesn't add up to 100, right? So that's a bit strange. What would be nice to know what these other people said or did. Maybe they hung up or whatever. The other point that I want to make here is that this article, this graph, doesn't mean that the government is or is not taking people's privacy seriously. This is what people think, right? The government could be doing absolutely nothing, or it could be doing everything in the world, and we still might get the same opinions. This is opinions of people. This isn't what's actually going on in the world, the government taking care of your privacy or businesses taking care of your privacy is the other graphic. This is just what people think. So in that way, you know, it's a little misleading. The whole article is a little misleading. So people's opinion is not equal to fact. Facts about whether businesses are taking care of your privacy or the government's taking care of your privacy, right? This is what people think are on that graph, even though the article made it sound like they were trying to do some investigative reporting and find out whether people's privacy was in jeopardy or not. So that perhaps is a little misleading. The graphs, maybe not so much. What does the line plus or minus 2.2% 19 times out of 20 mean? Well, that we're used to seeing already. That's the margin of error. And we talked about that when we talked in the 3-minute review. This 19 times out of 20 business, we'll get to that in a second, but what does the margin of error mean again? It's, well, these values, they're not for sure values, right? So 22% doesn't mean necessarily 22%. I said of that sample, that's how many people said, but if we had a different sample, it might be a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Well, how much higher could it be? Well, 2.2% lower or 2% higher. It means that they're pretty sure the actual number of people who answered seriously would be in this range. In this range here. So, well, are they sure that it's in the range? Well, no. If they did 20 samples, one time out of 20, they might get a percent that's out of there. So they're not 100% sure. They're only 19 times out of 20. This is a 95% confidence interval. So they're 95% confident. 95% confident that the actual value is in this range. So that's this idea of margin of error. They get a value of 22, but it actually what it means that they're pretty sure it's in this range, but they're only actually 95% confident it's in that range. That's what margin of error means. So when you read that in the paper now, you'll hopefully know what this stuff means, because it does sound confusing when you hear it on the radio or you see it on a newspaper, the margin of error. I think that's it for today. Yes, good luck with your margin of error explanations, folks, and I hope you enjoyed that article.